What's up everyone, it's Asif and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the world of AWS Access Management, something super important if you're dealing with the cloud. Over the course of this video, we'll break down all the essential concepts, from IAM to the principle of least privilege, and explore some best practices to make sure your AWS setup is secure. So whether you're just starting out with AWS or you're already a seasoned pro, stick around. First things first, we gotta talk about IAM, or Identity and Access Management. Think of IAM as the gatekeeper to your entire AWS world. With IAM, you can create different users and groups, each with their own set of permissions. Your developers might have access to certain resources, while your finance team has access to others. IAM lets you get super granular with these permissions, controlling access down to specific actions on individual AWS services. Setting up IAM properly is like laying the foundation for a secure AWS environment. Now, let's talk about the AWS root user account. This is like the master key to your entire AWS kingdom, and it needs to be locked down tight. The root user has the highest level of access, and any actions performed with this account have irreversible consequences. Only use your root user account for initial setup and essential tasks. For everything else, create separate IAM users with limited privileges. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility and the potential for a whole lot of trouble. All right, let's talk about one of the most fundamental security principles out there, the principle of least privilege. Only grant users and applications the absolute minimum permissions they need to do their job and nothing more. By limiting access, you're reducing the blast radius if something goes wrong. Always ask yourself, does this user or application really need this level of access? If the answer is no, then don't give it to them. Managing user access across multiple AWS accounts can be a real pain, but that's where AWS IAM Identity Center, formerly known as AWS Single Sign-On, comes in. With IAM Identity Center, you can easily create and manage users and groups from your existing identity provider like Microsoft Active Directory or Google Workspace. This means no more juggling multiple sets of credentials. Users can sign in once and seamlessly access all their assigned AWS accounts and applications. Let's talk about the keys to the kingdom. Access keys, passwords, and the importance of keeping them secure. Your access keys are like the digital equivalent of your house keys. They grant access to your AWS resources. Never hard code your access keys directly into your applications or scripts. Instead, use a secure storage solution like AWS Secrets Manager or AWS Systems Manager Parameter Store. These services allow you to store and manage your sensitive data securely, rotating credentials automatically. Now, let's dive into the world of authentication, proving that you are who you say you are. AWS offers different authentication methods, but for a truly secure setup, you need Multi-Factor Authentication, or MFA. MFA adds an extra layer of security by requiring a second form of verification, like a code from your phone or a security key. Trust me, MFA is a game changer when it comes to protecting your AWS accounts. All right, now it's time to put all the pieces together and talk about how to define groups, users, and policies in a way that aligns with the principle of least privilege. Start by creating groups based on job functions like developers, administrators, or analysts. Then create users and assign them to the appropriate groups. This way, you can manage permissions at the group level, which is much more efficient than managing them individually for every single user. AWS offers a ton of pre-built managed policies. but don't be afraid to create your own custom policies to fine-tune access to specific resources and actions. Remember that AWS root user account we talked about earlier. There are actually a handful of tasks that can only be performed by the root user. Things like closing your AWS account, changing your account settings, or modifying the payment method. These are all tasks that are strictly limited to the root user. It's all about maintaining that separation of duties and ensuring that no single user has absolute control over your entire AWS environment. We've talked about the importance of protecting your root user account. Start with basic security hygiene practices like using a strong, unique password. Enable MFA on your root user account for an extra layer of security. And whatever you do, don't share your root user credentials with anyone, ever. Your root user account is like the nuclear launch codes of your AWS world. Keep it safe, keep it secret. Finally, let's explore some more advanced identity management concepts like federated identity. With federated identity, you can allow users to sign into AWS using their existing corporate credentials. It's a win-win. Users get a seamless sign-in experience, and you get centralized control over access management. So, that's a wrap on AWS Access Management. We've covered a ton of ground today, from the basics of IAM to more advanced concepts like federated identity. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more AWS tips and tutorials, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Stay secure, and I'll catch you in the next one.